Welcome to Bulletcast, the Bullet Catcher Gaming Podcast. In this episode, we will be talking about Operation Motherland and what we liked and what we didn't like about it. Today's guests, special guest, ASQD Gaming, regular guest Hammer, Tyrant, and Tyrant Slayer. I'm your voice host, Grandpa 8up, and here's Andy from Bullet Catcher Gaming.
Thank you very much, Marcus. And I will say big thank you for ASQD for jumping onto the podcast. Been trying to get him on for a long time. Do really appreciate your time to coming on. Really appreciate it. Thank you very much. And thanks you for having me on yours before. So we're just going to get straight into it. Not going to mess around. We're going to discuss what we liked about Motherland, what we didn't like, the things they could have improved, all that kind of stuff. Now we've given it time. What is it? 10 days? Is it been that long? I can't remember. But hopefully a lot of people have either played the majority of it or at least completed it. So hopefully people have a good indication of what Motherland was all about. And if you haven't played it yet, then you might not understand what we're talking about. So let's start off as ASQD is the special guest. Give us an overview, ASQD, of what you thought worked in Motherland and what you thought did not work in Motherland.
Well, first off, I appreciate you having me on. I know we've been trying to do this for a long time, and the schedules just haven't kind of worked out. But Motherland, I think, was a huge step in the right direction, with the DLC being the fact that it was free to play. There was a lot of good content that the community had been asking for quite some time. And I would say that the only real gripe that I have is the fact that there isn't really a big replay value without like simply restarting the DLC. I know that in the comment section of my videos, that's the one big request that everybody's been asking for, is some sort of a like a system where Bodark could take back over regions similar to the control point system in the Division. And I think if there was some way to have like a constant battle with Bodark, it would be more fulfilling. And I don't want to take anything away from the DLC, because the DLC was really fun. Definitely the best DLC for Ghost Recon Breakpoint. But if they would have added some sort of a replay value with that, so it didn't penalize you as you went through the DLC, because as you go through the DLC and you do the destabilization missions, you slowly exterminate Bodark, and it kind of goes away from what the DLC was meant to be, I guess. So if they would have did something with a little bit more replay value, I think it would have been like tens across the board from the community.
Okay, no, I totally get that. I mean, I like what you said in terms of the fact that it would have made more sense if Bodark could have been around kind of continuously, like in the Division, like Division 2, for example, when you're taking back those kind of checkpoints. They are immense. The battles that you can have there are what I think Breakpoint really needed, instead of you're just clearing out one area, clearing out another area, and you're just continuing on. And like you said, when you get to the end, it's done. And if you want to do it again, you've just got to restart the whole thing. I think it would have been a lot better to be able to have them, you take it control, and then they come back and try and take it back from you whilst you're off doing something else. That would have made more sense. Anyone else got any opinions on how that could have worked? Not really? Okay. What about you, Hammer?
Well, first of all, ASQD, glad you're here. Secondly, I kind of agree with what ASQD's saying and what you've said, Andy. All in all, though, this DLC has been amazing. From the cosmetic items, the weapons, the story itself, I like where they went with it. I really do. And I think that's where some people get hung up on the replayability is there's a blockade, so more and more troops getting in there might be an issue, but in general, I do like how they did everything. I do like seeing that when you do accomplish things like the side missions, you do see a smaller presence. You do see things removed, like where it's like, oh, you're removing drones from certain bases, or being allowed to fly in certain areas without being taken out by the drone swarms. I think all that was an amazing job. I do concur with the opinion of the replay value is kind of limited to just restarting the whole DLC over, and that's the only real drawback I've seen so far.
In terms of drones, do you think, obviously, one of the things in this game that people have always kind of had a bugbear about is the drones? Now, obviously, the drones still played quite a huge part in this DLC. Do you think, but people didn't see, I haven't heard too many people complaining about the amount of drone usage. And I mean, it's actually nice that they use the drone swarm. Whereas before it's just been used to kind of stop you from going certain areas. I actually didn't mind the fact that it kind of made you not be able to fly in certain zones and things like that. I really enjoyed that part of it. It's kind of frustrating, but at the same time, it gives you a purpose to the mission to go and do it, to try and get rid of those. Do you think that, like A Squad, for example, do you think people were bummed out a bit by the amount of drone usage still within the DLC, or do you think they would have preferred it perhaps if there were less drones?
I think there was definitely a small crowd that were very upset and very vocal about the fact that they instituted the immersive experience and the with the world parameters and stuff like that. So the people that didn't want to play with drones could turn it off, but there was a number of people that actually kind of answered those comments for me in the comment section of my videos, where it feels more organic to be able to, instead of just going into the settings and pushing a button to turn off this drone or the Azrael drones or whatever, you actually have to go in and do something to actually get rid of that. And I personally really enjoyed that. At the start of Motherland, I didn't really go through and look at the different regions. And, spoiler alert for anybody that hasn't went to restricted area 01, but pretty much that entire region is about disabling the Azrael drones. And once you actually complete that zone, there's no more Azrael drones for the rest of the DLC. And I think a number of people, and myself included, I play immersive mode. I turn all that stuff off in the settings, but I do like the fact that there's a little bit more of an organic way to disable all those drones by actually completing certain missions to do it. So I know there was a number of people that weren't happy with it, but the direction they went with it, tying them to missions so you didn't have to deal with them the entire time, was a cool step in the right direction. But I know there were some people that were upset with it.
Yeah, one of the things that I've heard quite a few people complain about this DLC is the fact that one of the things that people obviously like about this game is to play it stealthy. And obviously, when they gave you the option of using the resistance or the outcasts, people found that they would get in the way of your base clearing and things like that, which, I do understand that they can mess things up for you. But if you want a more kind of organic experience, that having them around can be fun. And obviously, in this DLC, they are important to what's going on in the story. Jeremy, you actually found something quite interesting, didn't you? You were telling me about the other day. I didn't know about this. That you said that since Motherland came in, well, you explain it, because I've not tried this yet, but you said they've completely changed the resistance settings, haven't they?
No, the resistance settings are still the same. However, the population of the resistance on the story mode world is nearly half of what it used to be.
Wow.
And that's literally since the DLC went live. Why would they? I'm not quite sure why they would go and change that.
I don't know if it was purposeful or yet another one of their many, many, many bugs. But that is the end result. Of course, people who watch my live streams know that we go in nightly and we play in a world of resistance turned on, drone set to a minimum, and regular helicopter flyovers in order to bring the game closer to a more realistic setting. But we ended up having to drop the resistance and just switch over to the Conquest mode. Not actually playing in the Conquest, but resetting the Conquest every night and playing in a world filled with enemies of all types. Simply because, quite honestly, the live streams were boring because there was nothing in that world.
That's really interesting. It's strange that they would go and do that, though. I think that's kind of weird. And another thing that people have said is the fact that they wished that you could play the traditional kind of style, but within Conquest mode. And you were saying that the other day as well, weren't you, Jeremy? The fact that it's kind of restrictive to a certain extent. Like you said, every night when you live stream, you'll go and reset Conquest mode.
Right.
I mean, why do you feel the need to do that?
Well, that ensures that we have a large number of enemies to engage throughout our live stream. You know, we'll live stream for 6 or 8 hours per night, and without Conquest mode, the world feels empty again, even more so than it did before.
And that goes back to what ASQD was saying at the beginning, where if they were taking the bases back, you wouldn't need to do that. That's obviously why you're doing it, because as you're clearing it out, it's becoming less and less active effectively. So that's why you feel like you have to go and do that.
I don't know, because the way we normally would play would be in what is now considered to be story mode versus Conquest mode. We never had a problem with it before when that was the only mode you had. But now that there's 2 modes, it seems like the now labeled story mode is paying a pretty heavy price as far as interactivity with the enemies and different AI types.
Yeah, that makes sense. So I want to talk about bugs in a minute, because this is one of the things that's come up quite a lot from comments and things like that. And there's certain bugs that we know that have been around a long, long time that still haven't been fixed. But just quickly before we do that, I just wanted to get everyone's like 8 up and Tyrant and stuff. What was your general overview on Motherland in its basics, effectively? What did you like or dislike?
Go ahead, Tyrant.
I'll go over the likes briefly. The things that I liked about it is that it brought a fresh vibe. I don't even want to say a new air, because it's really not a fresh air. It brought a new vibe. You felt like you had a lot more purpose than whenever we were just starting out on Aroa. Because the initial sort of way that they were wanting to go about it, being hunted and then having to fight for survival, then to fight your way off the island, didn't happen the way that anyone thought. This gets us back into the Wildlands feel of actually having purpose. We have a mission. There's a task for us to want to accomplish, and basically they put several points and was like, look, this is A, here's where you start. This is B, this is where we want you to end. You have all these little dots here in between. I don't care how you engage it, just get from here to here and see it through. So the fact that I felt like it actually had a lot more meaning to what I was doing is great. Absolutely loved that. The weapon mastery, I know a lot of people that I know specifically were kind of, they were bitching heavily about the LMGs not being realistic in like their movement, their sluggish movement and stuff like that. I know guys who are saw gunners in the army, and they'd sit there and go like, dude, I could hump that about as well as a rifle. Obviously, that being with however many years they've had handling it. I'm not going to sit there and say that's an automatic thing. Take that with a grain of salt as you will. But it did feel unfair. And with this weapon mastery, you can now balance that. So anything that you felt was unfair, now you can kind of balance a little bit toward what you feel is right. And you can even get creative with it to kind of go like, do I think this is too much? By having the skill point reset, which is awesome.
See, now go ahead, finish.
going to go ahead and go on to the things that I don't like. The things that I don't particularly like about it is that you were talking about the drones earlier, not having as many drones, but it also having an organic feel as to why those were there. I think that is kind of, it plays against itself. Like there are several mission objectives where you would sit there and go like, oh wow, that's a lot of drones, but you'd only see like one ground drone, one aerial drone at a time. I think there was like one that actually had like a few that was concerning. And then those are the same areas where it's like, okay, you have 3 side quests to go and basically wipe out the drone shipment there. Well, what's stopping the drones that are currently there? Yeah, you wiped out the shipment to stop more. And only one of those missions explained that those drones go out to get maintenance every time the guards change. So, but every other one didn't have it. I think that they could have gone a little bit more in depth with the organic side of it on that end. I also don't particularly like the way that the characters, this is more of a nitpick, the ending, whenever Ito and Bowman don't get their way, whichever way you choose to go, and they both completely just bitch you out, even though they basically know, look, it's a tough situation, you've got to make that call. Especially Ito, but I'm biased against her, so. That's what I got. Go ahead, Gramps.
Well, regarding the weapon mastery, my entire team shut it completely off. We all feel like it's too arcadey. The word I keep using is the weapon handling and everything just feels slippery, and it's actually detrimental for most of us. We're headshot guys, right? You know, we run around, a lot of us are in semi-auto, and we do headshots, and because of the over amount or the slipperiness of the control inputs being modified by that mechanic, tends to throw us off a lot. So we ended up just shutting it off. That's one of the things I could absolutely have done without. It makes the game too arcadey.
I can understand that because I maxed out AR and you're flying around the map. I'm outrunning people who are just generally jogging with a max AR setup. But I think I'm going to stick with my guns on that one a bit and say that it can be, if you moderate that a bit, you can get it to where it feels just right for certain weapons, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. I mean, we went in there, we tinkered with it. We traded 1 upgrade, 2, 3, 4, then went to gold. And all of it just seemed to really hinder our performance because when we make a quick turn to make a headshot, we would slide past the head, things like that. And so we've all been perfectly happy just shutting that damn thing off and operating without it.
What's the primary weapon that everybody's using whenever it comes to that, though?
Well, most of us are running M4A1s or 416s. I was running an ACR assault, and it just seems to really affect everything, even the sniper rifles. Our team sniper was complaining about it too, and that's when we finally said, let's go shut this thing off and see if this is what's causing all of our problems, and it was.
Okay, so Grandpa's up because I want to talk about some of the rewards in a minute and that were offered in the the leveling up. But just before we do that, so Grandpa, what did you think?
Well, so far, I'm playing it with a bunch of guys that I've known for over 15 years from back in the SOCOM days. So we're really enjoying the gameplay. So we're laughing, we're joking, and we're just having fun playing it. We are probably either halfway done or 2/3 of the way done. So it's not like we're playing it every day. We're trying to see everyone's schedule. That way the 4 of us can be on and we just laugh, joke, and have fun playing it. So far, from what I've seen, I'm liking it. I haven't tried any of the challenges like Tyrant Slayer has said that he's been doing, but I haven't, been in that route right now. But because of Motherland, because I want to finish it and then have fun while doing it and really enjoy it, because who knows when the next time there's going to be a DLC coming out. I've had a couple people jump in and Not picking on anyone particular, but they know who they are. They come in, they say, okay, oh, I've completed the game already. Let's go do this, 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 and this, and this. And it's like, well, can we figure out how to do it? You know,
Yeah.
I don't want to be told, let's do it this way. Let us also figure it out. You know.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense.
So, because I mean, then this was probably what, the fourth day in. And okay, I can understand some people play it more than I do. But at the same time, let us figure it out. You know.
So I want to talk a little bit about, I want to ask ASQD, because we don't know how long he's going to be here with us. So I want to ask him about what he thought of the upgrade system in terms of, do you think the rewards that were offered were any good? And I also want to jump off of what Grandpa 8 Up just said regards to this being maybe the last DLC. We haven't heard anything from Ubisoft at all publicly to say that there's going to be anything more. It's weird that if this is the last one, that they've just kind of closed it off like this. What's your opinion on this being the last DLC? Do you think it is, or do you think we're going to get something else? And what did you think of the leveling up system? Do you think the rewards were good enough? I've had a few people complain that there's not much there. What did you think?
I think they should have did with the rewards. They should have made it every 5 levels or something. With the fact that they added up to level 99. And there was a couple of those like 10 level rewards that was like a couple patches. There's one that has 2 different variations of a backpack, which the amount of grinding that's actually involved with that, I feel like there should have been more rewards. Especially like the level 99 reward, you get like a title thing, name or whatever, and then you get a platinum camo, which the majority of the people that play this game realistically are not going to be running a platinum camo on their gun. I feel like they should have had some sort of a really cool operator skin that was like an icon skin, like a really cool military looking icon skin that was all new items. And then it also came with each individual item separated so that you could, add some of those items to your character or just do the full skin. I think a lot of people would have enjoyed that more, and it would have really made the grind to level 99 a little bit more reasonable, like something actually to go for. And when it comes to this being the last DLC, I honestly feel like Ubisoft didn't think that far ahead. And the reason I say that is the backlash they got for announcing Frontline, and when they released Operation Motherland, I don't feel as if they thought it would have been this popular and people would have got, this excited about it. They wouldn't have got that much positive feedback and everything about it. And I feel like now they're sitting there like, we set this up to be the last DLC with kind of how the story was. Now what? Because, the next, if there is another Ghost Recon in development, which honestly we have no idea, if there is, cool. But if there's not, I'm sure there is, and it's probably going to be a ways off. But the fact that this got such a good reception, I honestly feel like the developers are like, man, now we got to do something else because this was received so well. And with it being middle of November, Ubisoft usually takes the majority of December off for like their holiday break. So, and with the fact that Motherland just released a couple weeks ago, we're probably not going to hear a single word from Ghost Recon, the developers, or anything, till probably like midway through January at the absolute earliest. But I feel like there's definitely going to need to be some updates to Operation Motherland, whether they do add some sort of a system to add a little bit of replay value, or I know it does go against the storyline mode, but maybe having some sort of a world parameter, a Bodark world parameter or something in there, I think would be cool. It doesn't make sense with the story, but then again, Terminator, that's a world parameter. There's different world parameters and stuff that I feel like a lot of people would enjoy having in story mode, especially with Bodark, and not have it just be tied to Conquest. But Who knows? Honestly, it's right now, I would say that it's 50-50 of whether or not this is the last DLC. They do have Mole Island just kind of sitting over there teasing us for the last, 2.5 years?
Yeah.
You know, like, but how would they incorporate that as like a story or something? Like, there's not really any information on Mole Island. Um, who knows? Honestly, I hope there's something more to this game, or at least maybe we'll get something at E3 next year for a future title. You know, even if they wait another year, they released Wildlands in 2017. They announced Breakpoint almost 2 years exactly later. Breakpoint released in October of 2019. It's already been over 2 years, and thankfully they didn't announce a new game yet. So maybe they'll extend the life cycle or the dev cycle a little bit, and maybe we'll get a teaser at E3.
Well,
Fingers crossed.
here's a thought of what I'm thinking. True enough, I don't know how many of your subscribers are Ghost Recon players, and same thing with Bullet. But come Friday, there's going to be a lot of people leaving Ghost Recon.
What's Friday?
Why Friday?
Battlefield 2042 drops Friday to the public.
I think
Do you think
Hopefully it's in better
pretty low.
state than it is right now.
Yeah, because it's not in a good way at the moment.
But it's just the point. It still drops. I mean, true enough,
yeah.
Call of Duty Vanguard dropped last weekend. So we've had pretty much three brand new games drop on us within the past 3 weeks.
Well,
I still think, I really truly believe though, and I know Call of Duty gets brought up a lot, but I really do believe that, yes, I'm not saying because I've played Call of Duty, but I still think it's still a different enough game for people to not necessarily go, I'm not playing Ghost Recon anymore because I'm playing Call of Duty.
Yeah.
I think it is a different enough game. I think it gets compared too much. I don't think they should be compared that often.
we're
I
due
think
for we're due for a
I'm not
drop off anyways, because anytime they drop a new update, it's hot shit for about 3 weeks and then it goes away.
Right. But I'm not trying to say that it's gonna actually happen. I mean, naturally the diehards are gonna be there, and I know we got a couple of them that have their own terminology for Ubisoft, but on a daily basis. But
I like the suggestion that A Squad made in terms of, and Jeremy was kind of talking about this in a conversation maybe the other night. It was quite similar in terms of having world parameters for Bodark. I think would go down really well with a lot of people if they were to add that in. And it was quite interesting because I think I can't remember if it was on the last podcast or possibly one before, but it was fairly recent. I mentioned about the fact that the 20th anniversary showcase where they showed the Motherland teaser trailer, that was all we got for Motherland at the time. But yet, obviously, we got all this time dedicated to Frontline, which obviously went down, was to be fair, it's like a complete shit show. But I remember A Squad saying something very similar on the round table about the fact that, almost imagining like that if the tables had been turned a little bit and they'd highlighted Motherland a lot more than they did Frontline, for example, how differently that reception would have been. Because anyone who was watching that presentation at the time, the presentation was going quite well when they were talking about the history of the game. And then obviously as soon as Frontline dropped, everyone saw that like-dislike ratio completely turn on its head. And people like, this isn't Ghost Recon at all. And we don't need to go into Frontline anymore because it's been talked about enough. But I do wonder if they sit there now and think we should have pushed Motherland a lot heavier in that presentation than what they did, other than just that tiny little teaser trailer. I wonder if they'd played the full trailer or something like that, whether the buzz would have been so much more. I mean, because the buzz was huge when that next Motherland trailer came out. I've not heard people for a long time in this game get excited about this game like they were with Motherland. And I think it's so important. And it does worry me. And I think A Squad is absolutely right. I think we're going to hear absolutely nothing from Ubisoft for for months. I don't think
at least January, February. I'm
I think
with you
that's
on that.
yeah. I could even see that being minimum. Like end of Jan, February. I just don't think they can say anything. We're going to get nothing at all.
Because I mean, even
Well-
because if you look at it, we've had the raid. It opened up Thanksgiving of the first year. Then we got the Terminator. It opened up somewhere around a February. Then we got the other ones. It's always around the same time frame. But once we got the raid, we didn't hear anything until they start talking about the Terminator. We didn't hear anything until they start talking about the Resistance. And then so on and so on. And it's like almost like October, November, or February is their drop dates. Maybe June. That's it.
All right, before we get too far, Riddlin 33 milligram put his hand up in the audience, and I brought him up to give him a chance to ask his question or make his comment.
Yeah. Hi guys. Can you hear me? I
Yep.
tried to fix the
Oh, yeah, we
mic.
can hear you
Yeah, I
fine.
just wanted to comment. About the start of the podcast. We spoke about the introduction of bodarks and the word parameters and etc. And I just wanted to say, Ubisoft, like, they're scratching the tip of the iceberg. They introduce us with new enemies, new word settings, new environment, maybe environmental changes. But in the end, it doesn't matter all this decoration around the stuff when the core mechanic didn't improve. The enemy AI didn't improve. So the Bordark enemy, they can wear different type of camouflage. They can have different types of abilities, different weapons. But in the end, they're deaf, they're blind, exactly like the Sentinel. So what changed in the core mechanic of the game? And that's like typical Ubisoft. They invested so much time about give us all these new settings around the gameplay mechanic, but the gameplay mechanic hasn't changed. And we can have now the Bordark as word parameters maybe in the story mode, but in the end, they're not challenging enough because their AI hasn't improved. And when I started the first mission, when we need to kill some enemies there on the island and jump from the bivouac and so on, yeah, Bowman told us you don't need to get spotted. You need to pay attention to it. No one can ever find out that the U.S. personnel is on the island. And I thought, oh my God, I'm gonna go to the island. I need to be super sneaky. I need to keep my attention, to keep low. But in the end, you're just free roaming. You do nothing. I thought the Bordark will swarm the island, but in the end, it's the same, like 2 to 4 guys patrol on foot, maybe a full car patrol on the road, but that's about it. So the whole environment, the whole atmosphere that they're trying to deliver us failed because of the gameplay mechanic. And I think that should be the focus, not like if we get new enemy in story mode or we get different kinds of weapon or I don't know, or clothing. It needs to be about changing the gameplay in its core. Yeah, that's about it.
I
just wanted
totally
to give my
agree,
opinion.
Riddlin. Thanks for your comment. And it's good to know that I'm not the only one here that is at least disappointed with this update.
Okay, well, we're gonna get to our deeper possibly disappointments in a minute because I know, Jeremy, you've got some stuff to say. Just like I know that A Squad can't stay for the whole thing, so I just want to get your reaction to what he just said. What did you find about those points? Did you agree with those points, or do you think it's a bit harsh? Personally, I actually thought there were some improvements in some of the AI, but I don't know. That's just me, but I don't know. What did you think?
I think I felt like with the biggest change, and this might be the fact that I don't go loud very often when I play. It's normally always stealth. But the addition of, I understand there was an original Sentinel enemy that did the same thing, but the addition of the Bodark Tactician, where they would call for backup. And I said, I don't know if this was any different than the original mechanic of Sentinel, but the first time that I actually ran into a tactician, I saw him, he saw me, and I was immediately waiting for him to engage, and he didn't engage. He ran. He tried to evade and stay alive so that he could call for backup. He did not engage me. he immediately took cover and then went away from me. And like I said, I don't know if that's any different from the original like radio caller guy that was part of Sentinel, but along with that, with the reinforcements, there was one base that I did a test where I alerted there was multiple tacticians. I alerted the entire base, and I felt like the reinforcement mechanic was maybe buffed up a little bit, and this might be just personal opinion, but there was the first time that I alerted that base and they called for reinforcements. I don't know if this only happened once, but within 30 seconds there were 2 helicopters like on site right there looking for me, and then there was obviously every 30 to 45 seconds there was another 5-man vehicle that would show up as long as like I didn't completely disappear. So I would alert the base, get all this backup coming in, and then a second I was laying low, I would take down a few enemies to keep that alert active, and they just kept coming and coming. So I don't know if that's any variation to what's in with Sentinel, because a lot of times I didn't really go loud with Sentinel. But I feel like moving forward, I do agree with what he was saying, because moving forward, they can put all the types of enemies and all new bases and different this, different that. But if they don't change like the core AI in this game, I don't think it's ever gonna reach its full potential. Just because he's just right when it comes to like the enemies, and I think there was a few enemy bugs in this DLC with the enemies always staying alerted, or just some of the patrols. Sometimes the guys would get stuck in a spot, they wouldn't turn, or they wouldn't keep going on their patrol. But I think moving forward, that's something that Ubisoft really needs to concentrate on. Is at some point they really need to overhaul the enemy AI. Instead of having like a shotgun rusher that really has no care in the world about his life and he just runs at you blatantly and tries to take you down, I feel like they need to take cover and then have one enemy suppress you while the other one moves up. They need to try to flank. There needs to be like the enemies can throw smoke grenades, and just like the enemy AI really needs to be knocked up to get this game to its full potential, I think. So without going too crazy with it, I think that's the direction that Ubisoft needs to go moving forward.
I've never understood why they've never put snipers in the wild. Like, because you think about when you're playing this game, how often you're just kind of running through the woods, or you're running across roads, or you're doing a lot of running or traveling from one place to another on foot. And the only real enemies that you come across are either vehicle patrols, which you can normally see a mile off, or you get random patrols, which, most of the time are 3s and 4s. Very occasionally you might get I think I've had excuse me, I think I've had 9 once, and I think that was a glitch of some kind. But I would like to see
actually not.
snipers.
I've actually seen quite a few of those 5 through 9 patrols.
So I've only seen a few, but ASQD did
many.
say something then which interested me, because he said about the helicopters. Now, that's one thing I have definitely noticed a huge difference with Motherland compared to just playing the normal world. And we were playing last week, and we had, I think UK Jedi and I were playing, and we had 5 helicopters on us at one base. I couldn't believe it. Like, everywhere I looked, we're trying to, and we were trying to initially do this base stealthy, on, and these helicopters were everywhere. And I found that they seem to I found them harder to hit as well for some reason. But I also found, obviously, ASQD did you did the test, early access. I actually found that there were some minor differences in the early access than there was to the build that came out.
I agree.
There were some definite noticeable differences I found with the optical camo. I found the optical camo was better in the not test version, but the early access version. It worked better and for longer. I found that I wasn't seen as often using it as opposed to the one that's come out, like, that everybody's got. I found that some of the enemies just seemed more astute and more alert. It could be me going crazy, but I just thought it was better. You said you thought that too.
I honestly feel like they nerfed the amount of Azrael drone patrols there were in the full build that everybody got. Because I felt like at first I was starting to get kind of annoyed with the Azrael drones, because during the early access it was like, and like I said, maybe that's just something that was weird, or it was bugged or something in the version that we played before it was released. But it was literally like maybe every 5 minutes almost there would be an Azrael patrol. And I noticed too, and I don't know if this was like a bug or something too, but in the early access build, I felt like I didn't have to go like prone camouflage to hide from it as much. Like I felt like if there was trees and stuff between, you were taking cover not just behind like the trunk of a tree, but if you were underneath of the canopy of the trees, it didn't see you as easily. But then like when the full build came out, the drones felt the same as like story mode. Like you could be hiding in a bush or this or that or whatever, and that drone was still going to see you unless you went into the prone camouflage, which there's a whole nother can of worms that we could open with that, with the enemy AIs being able to see you with the optical camouflage feature in the game, and how they could expand that to actual colored camouflages that you can wear. I know G Money put up a video talking about that the other day, but I don't know. I feel like definitely I agree with that the build that we played early was different, like better different. So I don't know what they changed with the full release, or maybe that's just maybe we're just seeing things.
I thought it was better. And when you said about the Azrael drones, I actually remember when I first played the build, literally within the first 30 seconds of me starting the first mission, I got an Azrael drone immediately. And I was like, whoa. I was actually quite shocked. Like, it was
Yeah.
like, wow, that is so fast for that to turn up. No, I agree with you. There were definitely more Azrael drones. I definitely think they have nerfed a few little things, and they've made some tweaks and some changes. I think this was going back to the point I was going to raise a little while ago, where I think one of the disappointing things, and it's not necessarily disappointing with Motherland itself, it's disappointing with the game overall, is that there are still people to this day, and we obviously got a list of bug fixes and things and that they changed, and a lot of them were minor things. There's still people, for example, on Xbox, on this Discord, on other Discords, on YouTube, whatever, who are saying that for the last 18 months, they cannot walk into Erewhon without their game crashing. And those
in the story mode?
Yeah,
Yes, sir.
just story mode. I think we've got people here. Is it
yeah.
Jeremy? Are you one of them? Yeah.
My entire team.
Honestly, there are so
Really?
many people that have this issue. It's unreal.
What's
So
funny is
wow.
I've had people come in and go, I've never had that happen to me. They fast travel to Erewhon, and a couple seconds later, they're no longer on the game list. I have to call them back in because the game crashed out the dashboard.
Yeah, and there's so many people that bring this up, and yet it's something that has been brought up constantly. There are posts about it on the official Ubisoft forums going back at least 18 months about this issue, and it seems to be now there's issues across the board. Sometimes on all the platforms there's been different issues, but something like this where it seems to be on one platform, you'd think they would be able to go and fix this, but those are the kind of things
repeatable. It's not like a mystery. You know how to do it. All you have to do is go to Erewhon.
Yeah, it's not, and it's everybody. It's so many people. Well, not everybody, but it's a constant. It's been there every time there's been an update, and they come out with a patch notes with bug fixes. Everyone's been saying, "Where's the Erewhon fix?" I mean, the fact that you cannot go to Erewhon for a lot of people is crazy. So that's why I think things like Motherland, even though the content is good, a lot of people are still going, yeah, look, great, but I can't do this, and I haven't been able to do it for this amount of time, and it's still not been fixed. And I'm not sure if this is just PlayStation or not. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I noticed it on PlayStation way more than I did on PC, and that is the sticky cover. Is that does everybody get that? Because I didn't really notice it so much on PC, but on PlayStation, sometimes I feel like my character is literally glued to the side of a base.
Yeah, I play on all 3 platforms, and the PlayStation is the only one where I experienced that to the point of how egregious that it is. On occasion, you might stick to a little bit to something on the Xbox, almost never on the PC. But that almost seems like a PlayStation only issue.
It's very strange. I think it literally appeared, if I remember rightly, it came in when they opened Gollum. When they opened it up to the free roam Gollum. I don't believe it existed before that, and it just appeared. I think it was that that update that, or was it the one before? No, it was Red Patriot. Red Patriot really messed my game up big time. I had the most amount of bugs that I'd ever had. Like being able to fly through the map on helicopters, fly under the map, huge sections of the map I could just fly around under it and whatnot. But I mean, I'm not knocking Red Patriot, because before Motherland, I thought that was the best update that we got in terms of interesting mission design, and I really enjoyed Red Patriot, to be fair. So what else was there that people genuinely disliked about this update? Were there what about the enemies, for example? I mean, for example, the what they called the Seekers. Do people like them, or do they drive you insane?
All right, so there's a lot I have to say, but I'm going to try to keep it small chunks. I feel like this product, Ghost Recon Breakpoint, is sliding further and further into ridiculous territory. This invisibility shit, guys with head-to-toe armor on, nice and shining armor. What's next? Zombies? Zombies in spacesuits? I mean, we're getting there. I mean, we got invisible guys now. It's not an enjoyable experience as far as I'm concerned.
So what would you rather have? So if you were
I can exactly tell you what I'd rather have. I would rather have more enemies, smarter enemies. I would rather be fighting against people who are trained to my level and don't take 9 shots to kill. I would rather that all of my
enemies that can go prone.
All of my abilities should be their abilities. This franchise was originally sold as a realistic shooter, and we have gone so far from that the franchise is almost unrecognizable now. And what I think we need is
my brother.
We need to have enemies who are trained to our level. They're our peers, right? And we're not artificially nerfed down, so that I only take 2 shots to go down, but they take 9. That's, to me, all that is unrealistic and flies in the face of what this game was based on. And every update, it just gets further and further and further. And I gotta tell you, to be honest with you, I'm starting to hate this game. Starting to hate this game.
Starting to hate this game.
Yep.
I know. Look, I know you've been a critic.
I've been disappointed. I've been disappointed, but I am getting to the point where I literally hate it. So.
But you're saying that from a point of someone who loves this franchise, and that's why you're getting irritated with it.
Exactly.
I presume
it just gets more and more cartoony. We call it the great cartoon. That's what we call it when we stream.
So, I mean, obviously, there's a lot of players out there that maybe who are not so invested in Ghost Recon and its, and the whole franchise, for example, who just like to jump into a world with friends who won't be bothered so much by that stuff. I agree with you. I think the best way to, going forward, I would say what you want from a game like this is, not necessarily enemies that are head to toe in armor, is more, you want soldiers, for example, who, like you said, they can do what you do. They can go prone. I mean, for example, when you prone camo in the game, it would actually be quite nice that if you got ambushed by enemies who were also prone camo in you, if you know what I mean. You walk down you walk into the woods and then suddenly two guys get up from like a load of mud in front of you and kill you or try and kill you. I think that's got to be the way forward. They've got to improve the AI, and there's we've talked about this before, but there's games out there that are a lot older than this. And yes, they're slightly different games, but to bring a few to memory, like Fear, for example. If anyone's ever played Fear, the AI in Fear, considering I don't know how old Fear is, 15 years old, 10, 15 years old?
Mid first decade of the 2000s. I'm going to say 2005.
It's still got some of the best AI ever in any game. The enemies in that game were they were just written so well in terms of how they would come after you. And it's probably nothing amazing, but it just worked, and I know it's a different type of game. It wasn't open world and things like that. I do understand that they're different, but I do believe going forward that for this franchise to really blossom, you've got to cut back on some of the technology. I know technology is a part of Ghost Recon, but I think you need to cut back a little bit. We don't need so many drones and things like that in a realistic setting. We've all gone through all this stuff before, but it's something. I mean, before ASQD goes, I'm going to ask him, what would you like to see in a next game? Like, what do you think it has to be in there in terms of enemies and location and things like that? Just a really brief overview. What do you think to keep this franchise going?
Without going super elaborate, because I could talk for hours on this, because I've actually been wanting to make a video on this. But step one, they need an AI overhaul, and without getting too in depth, so better tactics, better enemy tactics that are more similar in line with what you can do, like he was saying, and not like a harder difficulty, not meaning like more lethal bullets, so to speak. Like, I think either way you look at it, it should be a scalable thing, because not everybody in the Ghost Recon community likes playing, I guess you would say, the way we do, like a more realistic thing. There's still a lot of people that play this game because it's one of the only third-person tactical shooters on console, and they don't want it to be like Arma. But like, for instance, I've played a bunch of hours on Escape from Tarkov and other DayZ and other third-person games, and I honestly feel like they need to lean more towards that. Like, it doesn't need to be full-blown Arma, because I feel like that would definitely alienate a lot of the casuals in the player base. But they definitely need to lean more into that than they currently do. And like, with that being said, this is kind of treading close to the line. I know one of the community developers basically did state that they're a little afraid to go that direction because they feel like that's a niche direction to go. Like, they feel like Arma is niche, even though it's a very popular player base amongst the PC players. And I feel like if there was a game similar to that on console, a lot of people would play it, but not everybody has a PC. But with that, some sort of some sort of a replay value, like we talked about with Conquest. Like, even if it was like the Wildland story, as you go through the regions, say you go into a mission and your objective is to take down the boss and you fail, instead of it just failing the mission and press F to restart, the boss escaped and he went to another region, and now when you go to that region is way harder, because now they've reinforced that region because now there's two bosses there or something. So maybe expanding upon the destabilization mission mechanic, better AI, better AI teammate controls. Like, please, SOCOM did it 20 years ago. How do we not have controls like SOCOM? That was what, the PS2, the PS1 way back then, that had some really intricate AI team controls, and here we are 15 years later and they can't figure that out to save their lives. So to save the franchise, to hashtag make Ghost Recon great again, better AI controls, better enemy AI, more replay value, and give me some real cutscenes like Wildlands again. Get rid of this dialogue choice crap that's in Breakpoint. That doesn't belong in a Ghost Recon game, in my opinion. So I'll kind of end it there without going crazy with
the
it.
narrative.
Yeah, like that's supposed to be in an RPG. Dialogue choices, I get it. That's supposed to be in an RPG, but Ghost Recon's not an RPG. Keep that shit out of here.
Agreed. So, and a lot of people have said they were disappointed that in this update and when the bug fixes and stuff came out, loads of people did say in the YouTube comments that they were really disappointed that the cutscenes weren't, hadn't at least been improved. Like, it really annoys me that your character is wearing whatever, say, helmet and balaclava or something, and then you go and talk to a scientist and it just disappears. And yet in Wildlands, every cutscene you were wearing the gear that you were wearing when you walked in. I don't know what it is, but it really irritates the shit out of me that they did that.
Yeah, I think honestly, and like me and G actually talked about this because I was kind of on that same boat, and it's the way they evolved the engine. So with Wildlands was sort of kind of its own thing, and now you've noticed like with Breakpoint, there's a lot of mechanics that are in Breakpoint that are like direct ports from Assassin's Creed, which in Assassin's Creed, it's the same way with dialogue choices and like what your character's wearing and all that stuff. It's the exact same in there, which a lot of people are upset about, but that's just the way the engine evolved, and they wanted to be able to spin this every 2 years like they did with Assassin's Creed. So they just ported a lot of mechanics, which is why we have the dialogue system and the cutscene system that we have now compared to the cutscene system that we had in Wildlands. Lazy development, in my opinion, but that's neither here nor there, I guess.
That makes sense that it is like that. Is there anyone else who has something really specific about this update that they were like, no, that didn't go down well with me? Was there any others? I didn't really have too many, other than some of the things that have been brought up already. I thought they did some good things.
I'm just really sore that they have done literally nothing to the long-standing issues. I mean, it's like they're repainting the Titanic and completely ignoring the hole in the hull.
That's such a good analogy.
There are things that need to be done in this game to make it stable. Just make it stable. And they're not doing it.
Give us some examples.
I could give a shit less about this new weather system when I'm still crashing out once an hour to my dashboard. I don't care about that. I didn't ask for that. What have we been asking for? We've been asking for the bugs to be fixed. People are tired of having crashes. They're tired of enemies shooting through walls. They're tired of clipping issues with the costumes. Again, I don't think the clipping issues are that big of a deal, but I think game-breaking bugs should be addressed first. And
there's also weapon issues as well. There's quite a few real problematic issues with some of the guns not firing. Where
if you want to showed this in a video experience before. I cannot maintain immersion when I'm staring at my Xbox dashboard all of a sudden for no real reason. And why do I have to look at killed in action for 2 minutes at a time? Why do I have to look at that? What's wrong with this stuff? This stuff all needs to be fixed.
What's it loading up? I mean, you just died.
I have a theory. I have a theory that they're taking that 2 minutes to upload all the errors that had occurred over the past hour to their error log. That's my idea. I mean, that's the only thing that makes sense to me. Take up that much time.
Well, we mentioned this before in terms of like bugs. I can't remember who said it now, but this was a while ago. But I remember reading somewhere that they were saying that the engine that was used for Breakpoint was that they argued the fact that it was completely different to Wildlands, and they said nothing because I can't remember whether it was when a lot of the community had been saying, well, look, why can't you put this skin from Wildlands into Breakpoint? Why can't you put this weapon from Wildlands
Yeah.
into Breakpoint.
If
And
I remember
I think this
correctly-
was openly on the forum. Someone said, no, we can't just do that because we're using a different engine. And obviously, we then started talking about that. I think on what was on a podcast or video. I can't remember what it was.
Yeah.
But yet there are things that were in Wildlands that have made their way into Breakpoint. For example, like the boats that fill with water when you're on the water. In exactly the same way as they did in Wildlands, and you think there's no way that didn't come from Wildlands. How could they have made? Because what you telling me, the developer made the same mistake twice?
Well, as far as I know, both Wildlands and Breakpoint use the Anvil 2.0 rendering engine, or game engine, actually, not just the rendering engine, but the game engine. So things should. I mean, obviously, you can make changes to the engine, right? You can upscale the output display port for 4K output on the new current gen consoles and things like that. But you can tell that there's some basic things that were brought over from Ghost Recon. They try to sell us on this, so it's a whole new from scratch, and I call bullshit on that because last time I got out of a helicopter with its alarm blaring on Wildlands, I fired up Breakpoint and I got in the chopper, and guess what's blaring? The same damn alarm. So I don't believe that they're being completely honest about from the ground up, because from the ground up, the odds of you making the same mistake in code twice are pretty damn low. That's usually happens when you cut and paste.
They haven't fixed the broken helicopter windshields, because they're still broken most of the time.
So annoying.
It's like, Jesus, they're still broke. Like, why is that not fixed? And one of the other things that they said that they'd improved upon, which I actually thought they told the truth on this to start with, was base jumping. The first couple of times I did a base jump on the update, I thought, feels more fluid. I didn't need so much space to do it. But for some unknown reason, maybe I just got lucky. It just seems exactly the same for me after that. I can't see any improvement in base jumping at all. It feels exactly the same. I don't know if anyone else noticed that.
I totally agree.
Wait. Before we go on that, a friend of mine hates base jumping, and he's actually able to base jump now.
I kind of agree with that, because I felt like it's better, at least for me.
I mean,
I think
I'm not falling off my feet as much.
He hated base jumping because he would always die. And now he says, holy shit, I can actually open my parachute now. I can actually float with you guys down to the base. And this is one of the guys that I've been playing, like I said, we haven't completed yet. But he can actually say, I can actually base jump now. So it has gotten a little bit better.
I'm going to give you something. I'm going to give you something really quickly that needs to be fixed. For me, as a player who likes to play with other people, that needs to be fixed, which was one of the first fixes, if I remember, I think for all the way back from the Terminator update, that they said that they had fixed. Now, it was improved, I'll give you that, but it is not fixed to being anywhere near good enough. And this happened to me once again. I think the first night there was 4 of us on, I think from here, we were playing Motherland. I got killed. I can't remember how. The other 3 guys were in the base that we were taking down, that was up on a mountain, and I'd selected the person that I was going to respawn on, and it put me the complete opposite side of the mountain.
Mm-hmm.
I was so far away on foot. By the time I climbed up the mountain and made my way round to the team, they'd cleared the whole base out and was leaving. And that really frustrates me so much that I get that there must be restrictions, but it didn't. It was never that. It was never like that in Wildlands. It really wasn't. Like, and even now, it can put you still up to nearly one kilometer away when you respawn in to a teammate.
One thing I've noticed about the base jumping is I cannot seem to get the same distance I used to get out of my base jumping before. I drop down faster. Like, even with the parachute pulled, my character descends faster. And another thing is they added the IR lights on the PECs and the malls, but they didn't add the IR lasers of your teammates.
Yeah,
That
Doesn't
can
make
be
sense.
seen.
I can
Or,
see.
e-
I can.
or even for the
I
pistols.
I can see them. I can see them, but they're not laser like. They're still flashlight like.
Oh, I can't see any
That
of my
I can
fellow
see.
teammates' lasers at all. I can see only their
That's what I'm saying.
flashlights.
That's what I'm saying. You can see the flashlights, but you can't see the lasers. But if they deploy the drone, the defense drone, you can see the laser on that thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, they really
So-
needed to add an attachment for the pistol to add that functionality of the pistol
Yes.
as well.
And there's a PEC laser on the pistol.
It's not an
Yeah,
IR. It's not an IR laser though. It's just a
Not to
regular
cut in
green
here,
laser.
but I think I'm gonna bounce, fellas. I'm gonna go catch some Z's before I gotta be up early.
Yeah, no worries. Thank you so much for
I
joining.
appreciate you guys having me on, and
Hugely appreciate
it took way too long.
It was awesome.
It did. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
All right, have a good night, guys.
Later.
All
Take
right.
care.
Later.
Anyways, I'm not all down on this. I think there are some plus sides. I enjoy not sliding down a mountain constantly.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
That is a
definitely.
There was an
huge
improvement
fix.
there.
It's a
I'm
huge
still
fix.
having
Oh.
some issues like with that.
Well, it depends on your angle, right? I mean, if you go down a mostly vertical hill, you gotta expect some slide.
No,
But,
yeah, no, I
this-
expect that,
this
but I'm still
2-degree
seeing
shit
it
when
in
I'm walking.
moderate.
Yeah, when I'm walking down a road and all of a sudden I go into a slide, that stuff's all gone. So they did a good job there. I don't know
Yeah.
if you guys have noticed
Oh.
when you get in boats now, the bottom of the boat doesn't fill with water.
I haven't
I
paid
noticed that.
attention to it yet, but I can
Oh,
definitely
I
look
did
at
want to
it.
say,
There are some fixes.
Andy, you brought this up before. The fights, the battles. I was in the northwest portion, and I was flying in a helicopter to take out a side mission where I had to destroy something. I got shot down, and by the time the helicopter hit the ground, half the base was swarming my position. It basically turned into a seer mode type game. And when I say half the base, I'm talking like 20 plus dudes and 6 ground drones. And that thing, it was like one of the more intense battles I've had in this game. I was literally going from cover to cover to survive.
Yeah, the scope of the battles has
Rendition
definitely
of
improved.
Black Ops
100%. The scope of the
Well,
battles is definitely
Some of
can be
that's
improved.
some of that's attributed to guys in full body armor who you would normally have killed, but remain after you dump a mag and a half into them.
Yes, that's very true. That's very true. It is to be fair, this mode, I would say, if lots of different people play this game in different ways. Some people have gear score on, some people don't, whatever. Some people play it on the lowest settings, highest settings, whether you have everything turned off or just something. I like to play with everything turned off on the hardest difficulty. And I will say that I do believe that Motherland gave me one of the hardest challenges. I found it, especially the Seekers. A couple of times I had absolutely no idea they were there. I rounded a corner and I got killed instantly. Didn't even know they were there. Now that can be frustrating to a certain extent. And my God, that mission where you have to go to the island and it's just you get there and I climbed up onto the side of the beach. You walk onto the island and you're like, okay, there's no one here.
Do yourself a
And
favor
then you
any
just-
one of these nights and go in enter conquest mode. Just ignore the missions and just roam around the world picking fights. And like on Gollum at the heliport, we went there last night or the night before. 90% of the enemies there were invisible dudes, and it breaks it.
Oh, I agree. It's like for example on that particular mission, I can't remember which one it was. I think it's the area that's west of the restricted area. Whatever's next to that. There's that little island, and I got there, and like I said, there's no one there, is there? You're like, oh, there's nobody here, and then those guys open up on you. Jesus Christ. Yeah, that was actually super frustrating.
Yeah.
It really did drive me crazy.
One of the things I don't like about the Seekers is apparently their camouflage is Mark IV, because they camouflage far more superior than any of my guys with top level camouflage can. I can see my guys clearly in thermal, and these Seekers, they're very hard to see even with thermal on. And again,
definitely.
I feel like we're being artificially nerfed in order to raise up the lethality of the enemy.
I agree with that. Has anyone else got any things that they thought were, that they didn't enjoy about it?
I mean, I can't say anything deep bad about it because I haven't completed it. Now, the one thing I am disappointed on, but at the same time happy of, the XP system. It takes a long time.
It's a grind.
Yeah, I actually think that plays into part of their replayability claims.
I mean,
the grind to 99 is part of what I think what they refer to with the replayability.
I mean, true enough. True enough. I give credit for the possibility, but I'm truly saying I haven't played daily enough to get the full grind of what a 7-day grind will be. But I started out at 33 and I'm only at 37, and I probably played 6 maybe 7 days of it since it's been out, and I've only moved up.
I do have to agree.
7 XP.
I have to agree with what ASQD said though about in terms of the rewards. Offering at 99 a weapon skin of platinum kind of also shows you a little bit still of how Ubisoft are still a bit out of touch with what people want. Because genuinely, how many people are actually excited about getting that? Now, I'm sure there are some people who want that, but I reckon it's a smaller percentage than the people that don't care one bit about that. And they've made that the kind of number one thing to go after. They would have been better off putting a new weapon in there, like I said, or a skin or whatever. I do think that the weapon skin was not good. I don't like it.
I agree.
This is a repeat of Wildlands when Wildlands did tier mode, and it's like, hey, go through tier mode. The one thing everyone wanted was the bad news Lavoa. It wasn't the top thing when you got to tier 1. Tier 1 was a weapon paint, and I was like, I'm not going for that weapon paint. I finally went and did it just to get tier mode done. But the weapon paint, I was like, this was the top reward? And there were so many people who complained about that. So when they did the 99 on Breakpoint, I was like, just don't be a weapon paint. Don't be a weapon paint. And they're like, it's a weapon paint. I was like, once I get the last actual cosmetic item, whatever it is, I'm not worried about the leveling up after that point, because grinding all the way for a weapon paint's not worth it.
I got one more comment.
I'll probably just play it as is, and when I get the item, I'll get the item, because I'm not gonna just play an entire weekend, waste time just going after a weapon paint. I'll just get it when I get it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, no, I think the top tier reward should be reflective of the amount of work that went into it. Yeah, just a titanium paint. That's kind of a slap in the face. But I would like to say this: the ACR with this update is what the Mark 18 should have been.
Oh, agreed. The ACR is awesome. This is definitely my number one weapon now in the game. I think
I use the ACR Assault. That thing's a little beast in of itself, but the ACR is nothing to laugh at.
Yeah, I like them both, to be honest. I think they're both really good for different reasons. But some of the weapons in this update were actually quite good. I thought there were some decent ones in there. Like I said, I'm still a bit bored of all the variants that we keep getting of different weapons.
I'm getting a bit bored of the SR3M. I mean, everybody drops that damn thing.
That's one of my concerns was when they advertised Motherland, they said, hey, what was it? The Dreadnought, the Rusher. Rusher was going to have an SMG. He doesn't. He has an SR3M. only person that doesn't have an
They don't even have
SR3M,
SR3M.
Is the
It's the
SVD.
rocket
The-
guy.
They don't even have.
the rocket guy. Yeah.
Whenever you
And
look at their character models and what they're carrying shorty AKs. They're not even carrying SR3Ms. And then
Yeah.
whenever you kill the bastards with an SR3M.
Well, we didn't even pay attention to it. I mean, last night our whole team looked at each other and we're all standing there with SR3Ms because we use Battlefield pickups. And we're all standing there with SR3Ms. We're like, did anybody see anything that wasn't an SR3M? And one guy said, well, yeah, there's an SVD out there, but I'm not a sniper, so I didn't grab it. So
That's
maybe a
tactician.
little too
He's
much
the
of a
one.
good thing.
So they're
Yeah.
trying to promote the SR3BM.
Yeah, so it feels like, yes.
Big time.
That was always my issue with the weapon drops. Is every time you picked up a weapon, it already had a suppressor on it, and it had a basic red dot. But if you looked at the character you killed before they dropped it, they didn't have a suppressor, and they usually either they didn't have an optic on it at all, or they had like the M68 aim point red dot.
Heavy Gunner
Picked it
says,
up, it
hold my
automatically
beer.
had a suppressor. It's like, why do they have a suppressor on there? If I'm doing a battlefield pickup, let it be whatever it was when they had.
I'll tell you what. So just as we kind of wind down a little bit, I'd be really interested to see what people think of if you had to give Motherland an overall score, whether you finished it or you haven't finished it for what you've played so far. You would have, even if you've only finished half of it, you would have got a gist of just kind of what it is for the types of missions, things like that. What would you give it out of 10 if you had to score it? I'd be really interested to see what people had to say. I would give it overall for the almost to like a community score. I'd probably give it like maybe an I'd actually think I'd go maybe as high as an 8, a 7 or an 8. And the reason being that yes, I fully understand there's bugs in this game that still need fixing, as we said. Now that should be something that needs to be sorted and fast. But I think overall they did listen this time. I think the different types of missions that are in there are quite interesting. They're replayable to a certain extent. I think they've improved on a lot of things. I think you can have more interesting firefights now than you could before. They've given us new enemies, whether you like them or not is a totally different kettle of fish. But overall, I'd probably maybe a 7.5. I'm going to give it a 7.5 overall. What about everybody else?
I'd have to go with 7.5 as well. I want to give it an 8. It's just there's still a couple of things I felt lacking. The one quick thing, I'm going to have to buck against what Slayer was saying earlier about the weapon upgrades. If you max out the mobility, I feel that's how you really should have been moving from start when looking down the sights, because
I agree.
What you're talking about, the slewing and everything onto a target, yeah, that's where it plays a little too, that goes way overboard, and that maybe there's a way of messing with in sensitivity, but I shouldn't have to do that. I shouldn't have to go in and change my settings on that. But the
Totally
moving
agree.
in a third person with my weapon at the low ready, I'm technically looking right over the top of the sights. That felt more natural when that's maxed out. I'm probably not going to mess with anything else because that's only what I was looking for. Story-wise, I liked it. If you find all the items that build to the story, it goes well. I won't give it an 8 just because I don't like how they connected the main story to this, and all you got was, oh, you left the island, now you're back. There wasn't a cutscene, nothing. So 7.5 for me.
Jeremy?
I'm going to give it a solid 5.
That's quite high for you.
For all the things that they added versus all the things I had to give up, I could have done just as well without this update.
Okay, well, I think that's a fair point. What about you, Grandpa?
I have a question first, since again, like I said, I haven't completed it.
Go for it.
Is Karen visible anywhere in this DLC?
No.
So it's just
That's the sad part.
Okay, so Okay, so what I've completed, I'm liking. So, and from what I'm hearing, I mean, Jeremy, I still watch you do your trials at night, and so your antics are still the same. So, but
Yep.
um, I'm gonna give from what I have right now a 7-8 because I haven't completed it. I'm not giving it a full because one, that long grind to 99, and finding out that it is just a weapon skin instead of clothing, gear, or weapon or something. Okay, that's disappointing. So now I'm just going to say, okay, I don't care about the XP. I'll get it when I get it. So,
Okay, fair enough.
And I'm about, and once we're done here, I'm going to jump on with a couple buddies because they've already said, hey, let's get going.
Cool. What about you, Tyrant? What about you?
I'm gonna go ahead and throw my 2 cents in. I know you said you were gonna do a video on it at some point in time. My biggest complaint is, as I stated before, I'm gonna throw another one in for shits and gigs. They gave me a fucking Vietnam kit and look, and they didn't give me a fucking M16. I'm having to make do with a fucking 416 because they wouldn't put a full stock on an M4. And then,
Yeah,
what am I supposed to fucking do on that one? Just
I'm
fuck
with
me
you on that one, man. All they had to do was add a solid buttstock option to the buttstocks.
That and a longer barrel. Give me a longer barrel option, and with the fucking heat guard going all the way out to where I can even use the A2 excuse. I don't give a damn at that point. Just give it to me. Like, gosh, you're gonna put the Vietnam shit out there, and then you're gonna basically shaft me afterwards. Fuck off.
Or universal attachments.
So what's
basically what I'm gonna go with Tyrant Slayer on this one. I'm gonna say a 5.
Yeah, brother.
But that's not a bad score, though, considering what maybe some of the
I
other
feel
recent
like it's
updates have been.
average. I feel like it's an average update. Like, it gave me what I want. It gave me some of what I want. I can make the argument it should be there at the beginning of the game. I can make the argument that it's better late than never. Just the whole idea of it, it's fun. It's fun to do and have your custom scenarios and actually like take your time and do it how you want. But it's the same shit, different day. So, and after a while, that's going to get boring. So what's next? So yeah, that's my verdict. Final one's a 5.
We will wait and see. Mad Mountain Pain, you jumped in. Did you want to comment on Motherland?
Yeah. I've said this many times before. I have to agree with I have to agree with the 7.5, and the only reason why I'm kind of floating up to a 7.5 on that matter is because they should let us at least play out the mission to leading up to Motherland, for one. 2, this DLC was long overdue. They should have launched this game with content like this from day one and worked and and started building around it as far as the mechanics and content. Now, as far as it goes with the overhaul of the gun sound effects, the M4A1, the TAC 50, the G28, why stop there? Why there's so many guns in there that do not sound according to what they sound like remotely close in real life, the 416 being example. Why not just work on doing a complete overhaul, giving people more of a variety? Because now I can tell you, when I play when I go in there and I'm immersed into the gameplay, I like to be able to feel, hear the weapon. It gives you more of an immersion feeling whenever you're going into from a tactical standpoint, as just going in there, guns blazing, going loud. So I mean, honestly, 7.5. I think that's the story in itself is great. I love the story. I like the features they added into it, but like I said before, it seems like they should have started off with this from day one instead of waiting 2.5, 3 years to put this in. And I mean that's pretty much my opinion on that, though.
Well, he doesn't seem
thank you
to
very much.
overcome with madness to me. That sounds like perfectly reasonable.
So, Ritalin, as you're there, do you want to give us your score out of 10?
Yeah, I will give it a solid 6 because I think I will use metaphor and I will say it's like getting a gift, a ticket for the best music concert on earth when it's already sold out. And it's amazing. You think it's going to be amazing. But then it's a digital ticket and the concert is over Zoom at 7020p, right? So the experience is not that great. So, I mean, they gave us all the bell and whistle. They gave us all the new toys, all the new stuff to play, enemies, etc. But in the end, we are still doing the same stuff in the same manner, same way, with the same bugs and the same, I don't know, weird design choices, especially around how you move, how you play, how you shoot, AI teammates, enemy AI, increasing or the population of the island on free roaming, and etc. So in the end, it's really nice, but it's not gonna cut it. It's like scratching the top of the iceberg for me. So I can appreciate what they've done because I think it's, as a developer's point of view, it's like it's an enormous task, right? It's pretty hard to make all the things work as a patch and not when you develop the game on the background. But yeah, it's for me just a new experiment, a new experience maybe. But in the end, in the core, I just do the same stuff and I get bummed from the same game design choices that they made when they developed the game. Nothing has changed in the core. So yeah, I will give it a solid 6, I think.
Okay, thank you very much. Is Neo4 want to speak? Because I can't move him up for some reason.
Yeah, I invited him up, but they need to accept
I'll
the
go ahead and
invite.
hop out. Hey, I want to thank you guys for letting me come on here, man, and hopefully you're getting better there, Bullet. You
Thank
sound
you.
better.
I think
Yeah,
you
I'm
change
getting
your name
there,
to
dude.
Reasonable Mountain Pain.
Hey, I mean, when I'm playing that game and everything messes up on me, man, I'm the complete opposite. But I mean, I definitely share y'all's frustration with a lot of the key points and issues that y'all brought to light on the podcast. So it's been like podcast central for me today. So I was already on one podcast and now this one, and I feel like bringing the Ghost Recon community together, having everyone get on here and share their views. I think that's a good thing, bringing everybody together.
That's why this is a community podcast. We want to get different people's voices on each time we do this. Try and get people in. Sometimes it can be a bit clunky when we're moving people in and out, but we do like to get people's voices heard and different guests and different perspectives and things like that. So that's what we're going to continue trying to do.
Before you leave, Payne,
hey, well, peace out, guys. Y'all
if you
take
run
care,
another podcast
and
if you have a channel, Twitch or YouTube, DM me. Maybe we'll get together and do some collaborations.
Yeah. I mean, I have a Twitch channel, but right now I'm kind of like, me and Day Zero right now are kind of in the middle of establishing something like a podcast style like this called Ground Zero Tactical.
Gotcha.
That's what we did today. I would love I'll DM you definitely. Maybe we can have you on the podcast too.
That may work out.
All right.
All right. Hey, y'all take care. Peace out. Peace and love.
All right.
Take care, bud. Right. And with that, so I believe, Grandpa, you can take us out. Thank you, everyone, for watching. And obviously, thanks once again for our special guest, ASQD Gaming, for taking some time out. And I would like to personally thank, as always, Tyrant Slayer Jeremy for doing so much work behind the scenes to get this all up and running. And obviously, Grandpa ate up for his awesome booming voice. And obviously for Tyrant and Hammer, who are two regulars as well, and for everybody who jumped in with a question here and there. And for everybody out there who's watching this, thank you so much. Comment, and I have been ill and I'm a little bit behind on answering comments on a few videos, but I will get there and answer them all. So thank you very much. Thank you, gentlemen. Do appreciate it as always. And Grandpa, take us out.
This has been a Bullet Catcher Gaming podcast. Join us next time for another exciting episode. Join us on Discord. The Discord info is in the description. Comment, like, and subscribe. Signing off.